Hello everyone, we're still in Luxor in western Thebes. I am taking you to one of the most famous and spectacular ancient sites in the world, the Valley of the Kings. Tomb robbers, treasure hunters and archaeologists have been combing the Valley of the Kings for centuries. Yet, it continues to yield surprises. The last of the tombs, Ramesses 64, was discovered in 2011, and rumor has it that the next big discovery in the valley will be announced any moment. Only 14 tombs are open to the public. In my previous episodes I showed you a total of 12 pharaohs' tombs, so we have 2 more left. Today we'll see the beautiful tombs of Siptah from the 19th and Ramesses IV from the 20th dynasty, and a little more. Are you ready? Let's go! Siptah tomb, Kv 47, located in the so-called Eastern Valley, belongs to the second last king of the 19th dynasty. Ahead of us, a 100-meter walk deep into the rock. In the upper corridors, the decorations have been preserved in good condition. The reliefs have retained their vivid colors. Beautifully depicted Siptah with the Atef crown on a Nubian wig. Pharaoh receives eternal life from Ra-Horakhte. This is a typical Ramessidic royal tomb. Plastered corridors are decorated with scenes from the Litany of Ra. Then we see the Book of the Amduat and a nocturnal 12-hour journey of the sun god through the underworld. When the sun goes down, Ra on his back crosses the horizon, Akhet, and begins a dangerous journey to the underworld, Duat. Sailing on the subterrestrial Nile, he transforms into his ram-headed shape and becomes one with the god of the underworld, Osiris. On the ceiling, vultures, Nekupet. This typical depiction is, as you can see, exceptionally well preserved in Siptah's tomb. The colors are amazing. The second corridor. Like on an immense clock, we count down the upcoming hours of Siptah's night journey as Osiris Ra. The old sun god rejuvenates during the night to be reborn in the morning and rise in the east with new strength. Sunrise and the renewal of life is symbolized by, ubiquitous in Egyptian art, the beetle scarab Khepri. During the pharaoh's funeral, the priests recited in the tomb the liturgical text written on the walls, invoking 75 different forms of Ra. Beautifully decorated text with excerpts from the Book of the Dead, This most famous Egyptian book is a collection of magical spells to help the deceased on a dangerous journey through the Duat. The book was written down by priests over 1,000 years, enriched by successive generations of theologians with new practical solutions for the dead. The oldest date back to the pyramid texts, which could possibly include even older, early dynastic funerary spells. We're entering a crude, unfinished corridor. Interestingly, during the construction of the tomb, ancient workers broke through to an older, anonymous tomb, today known as Cavity 32, probably dating back to the 18th dynasty. This mistake forced Siptah to change the plan of his own tomb, hence it was never completed. A monumental granite sarcophagus and never completed burial chamber due to Siptah's premature death. After the stable reign of Ramesses the Great, who ruled 66 years, a series of short reigns of his successors followed. Ptah 10 years, Seti II 6 years, and Amenemope only 3 years. The latter was to usurp the throne during the absence of his half-brother, Seti II. We don't know which of the brothers was Siptah's father. The dispute continues to this day. We know that the mother, Sutalia, was a Canaanite princess. Siptah ascended the throne around 1191 BC as a child. His stepmother, Tauset, ruled on his behalf along with the powerful Chancellor Bey, presumably her lover. Examination of his mummy proved that he died around the age of 16, after less than 6 years of reign. His stepmother Tauset took power again for less than 2 years as the last pharaoh of the 19th dynasty. I showed you her tomb in my first episode from the Valley of the Kings, link in the description. We move 130 meters to the northeast and 40 years into the future. Ahead of us, the tomb of Ramesses IV, Cavity II, from the 20th dynasty. Due to its location, right at the entrance to the Valley of the Kings, and being wide open already in antiquity, it's been a tourist attraction since the earliest times. Here we find Egyptian hieratic graffiti as well as Greek from Roman times. But the most characteristic of this tomb are the inscriptions and paintings left by the Copts. From the 3rd century AD, monasticism in the deserts flourished in Egypt. The fathers of the deserts also inhabited the Valley of the Kings, where tombs were used as cells for hermit monks in late antiquity. The sacred texts and images of saints visible here probably come from Byzantine times. The original decorations of the corridors are, of course, a Ramesses in front of Ra-Horachti or the Litany of Ra. On the ceiling, images of vultures, Nekbet, then the texts of the Book of the Amduat and the Book of the Dead, the Book of Caverns and the Book of Gates. The tomb was originally supposed to be much larger. Due to the premature death of the pharaoh, work was stopped at 89 meters, and the space intended to be the pillared hall was transformed into a burial chamber. It isn't large, 7 by 8 meters, 5 meters high. It's actually filled with a massive sarcophagus, 3.5 meters long, made of red granite, which has the shape of a cartouche when viewed from above. On the ceiling we can see an abridged version of the Book of Nut, originally called The Fundamentals of the Course of the Stars. It's a collection of texts describing the movements of the stars, the moon, and planets in a religious mythological context, a kind of religious astronomy textbook. The central element is a giant image of the goddess Nut, naked and arching over the earth. The goddess' father, Shu, supports her body. He was the primal god of air. He represents the atmosphere between earth and sky.
And again, my favorite motif, goddess Nut swallowing the sun, but also giving birth to the sun. We can see it in her womb.
Nut swallows the sun, her child, Ra, in the evening, and gives birth to him again every morning. The ancient Egyptians imagined the cosmos as a giant body of water over which Ra travels in his bark. At sunset, Ra flows through the mouth of Nut into the land of the dead, Duat. Nut separates the world of people with her body from what's outside, the dark, cold, empty and infinite watery expanse, known as Nun, primal chaos. Are you interested in the perception of the world and the beliefs of the ancient Egyptians? What do you think about podcasts about this vast subject? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so now by clicking the subscribe button in the lower right corner on the screen. Thanks! This is one of the tombs that you can visit without an additional ticket. Because it's colorful and well preserved, it's the most crowded tomb in the entire Valley of the Kings. There's a strict ban on the use of flashlights here, as cameras used to be. Since they can be used, flashlights that were not banned before are now prohibited. Anyway, due to the current ban, I had to record in this flickering light. The death of the female pharaoh Tauset was accompanied by a state crisis and social unrest. Then, in unclear circumstances, Setnacht, a man who was not a member of the royal family came to power. After a short reign, the throne was inherited by his son Ramesses III, the last great pharaoh of the New Kingdom, who was murdered as a result of a palace conspiracy. The third pharaoh of the 20th dynasty became Ramesses IV in 1155 BC. He began his reign by punishing the conspirators led by Tia, one of the wives of the murdered Ramesses III. After consolidating his position, the ambitious pharaoh began grand building projects, such as his great mortuary temple at Asasif in western Thebes, and initiated expeditions in search of rare minerals. The world's oldest geological map known to us was commissioned by him. Unfortunately, in the 6th year of his reign, Ramesses IV died of unknown causes. His mummy was found together with that of Siptah in a cache in the tomb of Amenemope II, KV 35. The reign of the next 7 Ramesses is a growing crisis, which in the 11th century BC will finally lead to the collapse of the 20th dynasty, the New Kingdom, and the unity of Egypt. Finally, I showed you on my channel all the tombs in the Valley of the Kings that are open to the public. You can find all the episodes in the description below this video. Of course, there's much more to explore here. I hope in the future I'll be able to film all those tombs closed for visitors, which won't be easy. I would especially like to visit the tombs of Amenemope III, Thutmose III, Horemheb, and finally show you the tomb of Tutankhamun more thoroughly. For now, however, I'll take you to an interesting private tomb, so we're back in the nearby Valley of the Nobles. We stay with the 20th dynasty. We'll see the tomb of the Theban priest Amenemope, TT 148. This influential Theban noble was a descendant of Tutankhamun's vizier and the high priests of Amun. He died in the time of Ramesses V, bearing the title the third prophet of Amun, which made him the most important priest after the chief priest, Ramesses IV at that time, and the second prophet of Amun in Karnak. This is one of the few private tombs from the 20th dynasty with reliefs, because then tombs were decorated mostly with paintings. Here we see Amenemope making offerings to his great ancestors. A 3-meter statue of the deceased and his wife, the priestess of Amun, Tamesit. The small figure between them is their daughter, Mutemuya. The vast underground complex, which we can't explore of course, contains as many as 5 burial chambers. It was from one of them that the granite sarcophagus was pulled out at the beginning of the 20th century and left in the corridor leading to the burial chapel. Amenemope, with his monumental statues and massive sarcophagus, built himself a truly royal tomb. What was the culture of ancient Egypt if not the imitation of rulers? "3,000 years of history in which the pharaohs imitated their great predecessors, the priests and nobles, the pharaohs, and the lower class with their wigs and gold-painted jewelry wanted to resemble the Egyptian elite. Careful copying, duplication of patterns is the essence of Egyptian art. The priests of Amun in the 20th dynasty, however, didn't stop there. After the death of Ramesses XI, the kingdom was divided. Its southern part was ruled by the high priest of Amun at Thebes during the so-called Third Intermediate Period. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please subscribe to my channel, like and comment. It means a lot to me, as it's hard for small channels like mine to break through on YouTube. My patrons, thank you so much. And if you'd like to become one, I link my Patreon account below. And see you on another ancient site.